few years ago, at a very young age, I became a manager. And even though I've been to a management school, the first experience as managers is always very scary, and you are happy to probably take on the responsibilities, but it brings a lot of stress, and especially when you have to deal with giving feedback to your employees, especially when it's negative feedback. So in today's video, I'm going to share a very simple tips to use when you need to give negative feedback. And hopefully it helps you to be more proactive and more confident when you have to tell your team that they haven't done a great job without affecting their motivation. So let's get into it. This technique, if you feel unconfident or if you feel uncomfortable managing people today, you might actually be interested in looking at. It's called the sandwich technique. So the sandwich method or technique, it's going to be something where, let's say, an employee is delivering a project or delivering something that was supposed to be done, and it's actually not really good. For example, you asked your team to prepare an event and that event preparation is not going so well. Then instead of going at it and starting to shoot the crowd, open fire and get yourselves hated as their manager, you might want to use that sandwich technique, which is basically a layer of bread. The meat in between can be vegan meat if you don't eat meat. And then the next layer of bread. So it's bread, and the meat being the negative feedback. Okay, and the bread being the something positive about it. So let's take the case of someone who has prepared an event and the preparation is not going so well. And you can be like, okay, yeah, so like you've tried to do different things. I see this is actually a good attempt to organize everything. But, and that's where you put the meat, you can say it's not enough because it's not going to match our customers or guest expectations. So you have to work a little more on this and this and that. And then finish with the last layer of bread where it's something positive and say that, for example, but I see good efforts and whatever you've tried, it's actually the good method. So just keep going at it. Just make sure you match with the expectations of the customer. And that way you have actually done a great sandwich. You can deliver this to your employee and they will always be driven more by whatever positive they have done. It's encouraging and you're not only emphasizing on the negative aspect. Now, there is limitations to that technique, obviously, because the employee might actually only focus on the positive and never do the negative. So just make sure whatever negative feedback you have given is actually going to be very specific and they are understanding that they have to work harder and work better on that specific thing, and that the positive thing is set as some great way to keep them motivated. And the second thing is, if it's an urgent task or if it's an urgent thing, then unfortunately this technique doesn't really work, because in the urgency you cannot have the time and you cannot have the energy probably to be thorough in the way you give the feedback. So you might just want to emphasize on what's negative and try to make sure that it's delivered in a way so that it doesn't demotivate them and it's actually constructive so that they can keep going. But anyway, that technique, you can try it, you can use it. You will see that normally it's a conversation starter rather than pointing at fingers, and you will see that it actually really helps the employee to do better and to help you in your tasks, which is the goal of having an employee at some point. So I hope it helps, and if you want to tag along, keep going at the subscribing button of Scale in Peace. I'm sharing at the moment one video every day about growth, productivity, and self-care for overwhelmed entrepreneurs. See you guys, see you tomorrow for another video.